Okay. Hi. Um, this is the first iteration of Sharel's Index. Sharel is me. Sharel's my middle name. This is just if you ever seen like people's favorites, what people have been thinking about, this is my version of Sharel's Index and just tools, thoughts, ideas that are like percolating in my brain, things of that nature. I'm experimenting with this format, but I definitely want to give credit where credit is due. Um, I feel like this is making a resurgence on Instagram, YouTube, but I want to say that I subscribe to Mickey Galvin, and she was the first person or that I see repetitively use this format with the screen recording. And then I saw Sarah Gray, and then I think probably like, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, Rachel Newen was someone who used to use this format. We're experimenting and we are getting things out into the world. So shout out to Mickey and Sarah and Rachel for the format inspirations. It is December the 10th, and the holidays are in full swing. And I thought that something that has been percolating through my mind is really using the word percolating a lot. I thought I would start with thoughts because this is like the accumulation of things that I have been reading or listening to or ideating or thinking about. It being the holidays, I have found myself immensely nostalgic, of course, sad because I live in Paris and I am not spending the holidays with my family this year. And being a transient city, as people know, when you go to like these big metropolitan cities, I have also been thinking about all the people that I meet and that have become close friends. Like here in another city, they essentially become family. And so I've decided to do a coffee style holiday pop up, which is coffee pop ups and making your home into a coffee pop up. I love this idea. I love coffee. I like the gathering of things. I mean, I love coffee shops in general. But like turning your house into a coffee shop and Mike slash salon is such a good idea. And so this idea came from a couple of places, wanting a like event, but something intimate, something that feels so low stakes, meeting people who are doing projects and working on things together. So what's a way that I can make all that come together? And so it's doing this coffee pop up. Idea and inspiration from the cards came from Ali LaBelle Creative. If you are somebody who likes design, conceptual, like brand thinking, Alacott is so good. She does like a thematic thinking, and this was like years ago. I want to say about 2 years ago that she had a thematic thinking, but there was one, as you see, like she does like mood boarding, and there was one specific post she had, and it was with Langston Hughes. And I love her also because she credits all her work, which I think is super important. But the card was from, let's see, the card was from Langston. Oh, now you're telling me to sign in. Actually, she had pulled not this exact example, but she had pulled a card that Langston Hughes, who is a Black American writer, would create these like social cards for his friends for like gatherings. And I thought that was day and age, everything is via email or QR code or something's digital. And I was like, we get to remember something tangibly. And I also thought this definitely added like a lot of whimsy, which is something I love. I love the whimsical and adding like the little special sauce in the mundane. Oh my God, I'm speaking French. The mundane, the ordinary world, because I'm not saying that word in English. Matt Preberg, again saying it in French. Matt Preberg, who has a TikTok, who is excellent. Let me find Matt, Mr. Tomfoolery. He's like is an internet guy, but he like cultivates and does the internet in a way that makes you engaged and want to participate in the internet world. But he specifically had one. Let me see. Oh, here was he specifically. Yeah, he had one thing where he did the acquaintance cards, and these cards were like greeting cards. However, mine's aren't acquaintance cards. Mine's are literally like little mini invitation cards, much more similar to Langston Hughes. And this idea kept coming around. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it. And so I created these Christmas cards. And I tried to add like a little cute little flair to it. This is like a funny thing that happened with this. So, because we live in a digital age, I definitely had to like let my friends know, like, hey, are you free on December the 13th? And if so, hold the date. And of course, everyone's like, oh my God, hold the date, which I love because you know what? When's the last time you were surprised and you were like, oh my God, there's something that I don't know. What is it? An invitation in the mail. Immediately, people were like, are you getting married? And I was like, no. And they're like, are you having a baby? And I was like, no. It, can you like really think about our society being like, one, we don't really getting things in the mail as much, but it just surprised me at how much that the only time we get invitations or the only time that we are expecting mail is when it's this huge life transitional thing. And I, for one, am like, we need a little bit more fun and whimsy in your life that you receive this out of nowhere and it's like, it's a party. You should come. In this case, it's a coffee shop pop up. But me forever. I have actually been on Susan Sontag's book Reborn, her Reborn Diary series for quite a while. Fiction I just consume a lot quicker. And I would just say a Capricorn reading a Capricorn, interesting. I was like, did I write this? Is she in my diary? But love with the fact of her asserting these ideas of like truth and contradictions. And I think that is essentially all of us in the world. I think at one point in your life you will contradict yourself. And if you are someone who is growing and you're curious, you will contradict yourself. I have contradicted myself a lot. And you are someone who is perceived to be judgmental. She gave me so much permission to have a real opinion, believing in a private life. And I also think that is incredibly important in our day and age where we put everything on, not everything, but a lot of things that we share, even if it's not on social media, like we are, I feel like a hyper socializing entity. Humans have always been. I have been really chewing and mewing on this fact of what a private life is, especially as someone who's getting more and more into content creation, getting more and more to sharing her ideas and projects and her experience. Like, what is a private life? What do you decide to share and not share? Content creator that I like. Her name is Annie. And she mentioned on a podcast once that she doesn't share anything that she doesn't want commentary on. Your story. I will never share anything that is not my story to tell. I think to the grand public of people you do not know who do, I think that's what it is. To people who do not know you earnestly and truly, um, giving information that doesn't give the full scope of like who you are and context is inviting people to say things that are truthfully just not relevant because they don't know you. Guys that we do in acting, I've like personally, I have like a really good like intuitive sense of like, ugh, that feels and if I have like the that feels I don't share it. Um, However, I am also, and this comes about like truth and contradictions. I do believe when you get more confident or you have more experience with things, you then maybe shift and change what you decide to share and not share at different times, especially if you're more removed from it and you've gained some wisdom on it. Um, Susan Sontag was really wrestling with was this idea of what do we show and display and give, and then what do we keep for ourselves. She spoke about is balancing desires, and desire could look like, for her there was a lot of sexual tension. She's a queer woman back in like the 50s 60s up until, like until the day she passed. And it was interesting for her to talk about the values of marriage and how feeling like marriage has no spontaneity. And Susan loved love, but she never considered how to change the rules of engagement. And I think that just comes from, again, us sharing. And if you are in the queer community, and Susan was in a queer community, frankly, those rules of engagement have always been up for conversation and relationships to like change and evolve, because you are already in an aspect of society that people will tell you that is not normalized. And so therefore you cannot assume the heteronormative heteronormative heteron I'm really trying to figure out how to say this word. How you spell it? Heteronormative. Oh, heteronormative. Ha! Jacked it all the way up. Heteronormativity. That's a lot of sound. That's a lot of sound. Heteronormativity. A permission to reevaluate and analyze and actually decide how you want to formulate any type of marriage or long-term commitment. And there is another novel that I read. I read this in a weekend. So this book takes place with three I want to say I'll say black, but like African descendant women. Like, well, because one is from one is from I think Somali. The other one is from another one is Nigerian American, and then the third woman is a Black American woman. And all this takes place in Sweden. And I thought one, it was interesting because one, I've never read a book where the place actually takes place in Sweden. Thing that I really, 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 really loved about this book is talking about the dynamics of like how we kind of like force our not yeah yeah force ourselves together or create these new circumstances of belonging that if we were in our normal culture or where we were born, we probably wouldn't be friends. Like there definitely was like you guys do not jam, but because of the circumstance you kind of jam, but like not really. And I love that the author Lola made a conscious effort to show that these women don't really belong together. They're just belonging in this certain circumstance in Sweden. These women have a past. And you can see like the themes of this book is also like forgiveness, self-forgiveness, deciding at any moment you can change your mind. And it's also, as a black woman, I inherently feel the need and the obligation to like other black women. Like I feel the protection to appear and to be in unity 100% of the time. And what I loved about this book is she wrote characters off like, I don't like this sister. Like, I don't like her at all. She's getting on my nerves. She's da 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 da. And I appreciate and I like that because it's okay if other black women don't like black women. Like, because it's not, I don't like you because you're black. I don't like you because of who you are and your personality. It just so happens that in a culture, especially coming from the US, or even like being in Paris or maybe I can imagine any other country, the need to want to protect our identity and protect ourselves from criticism to me has silenced me and forced me into situations where I just did it because I was like, oh, we're in sisterhood. And I am a firm believer of sisterhood. However, I don't have to like you. That's what Susan was saying. And I believe in that. Like, I don't have to like you, but to, to be protective because I understand the criticism and the harshness in which we are perceived and treated. Therefore, it makes me lower and it increases my tolerance for bullshit. And reading Susan and reading this book has just given me permission to be like, you really do judge people on who they are. Reading, and I've reread this book 1,000 times. I feel like this is a very popular, not knowable book. It's still I came back to this book because frankly, in a world where we're constantly seeing things be created and output, and me playing like did they jump rope of like get in, I don't know, get in. I felt so not behind, but overwhelmed with the fact that someone's going to call me a fraud and a fake because I'm still trying to figure this out. Like, i.e., this video format has been delivered or been given by other people. And my hesitancy to even do this was fact, like, I don't want people to think I'm stealing from them or that I'm taking their idea. And this book reminded me and continues to remind me that we are all building on each other. And I have now gained an understanding. And there is actually a creator, her name's Skylar Marche. She's super talented. I love her work because one, she's she's infused fashion and storytelling and life. Okay, forget you. I'm not signing into this today in a way that is so not only editorial but intentional. This is the direction I want to go when it comes to like my content creation journey and what I want to do. Um, and she mentioned, because there have been people who have definitely, some outright just stolen her idea, but she said one time that, or did she say a diaspora? I think that's the word she used. Um, and that conversation to me was incredibly important because to me we are a building block. Like none of us arrive at our ideas without having previously been inspired or stole or inputted something that somebody else created. Like I'm a brick in the house. Like I don't need to be the whole house. I can be a brick in the house. Um, because wanting to seek originality is keeping me specifically from jumping in and executing inspirational ideas, because I'm like, somebody gonna say she a fraud, and it's like, okay, well, even in watched recently the Eddie Murphy documentary, and he spoke about like he was literally just replicating Richard Pryor, another comedian at the time, popular comedian at the time, who really was his inspiration. So he was like, I was just doing that until like all these layers just kind of fell off of me, and all I had left was me. And so I do think that if you are someone who is jumping into not anything new, but if you are doing something and you're hesitating because you maybe feel like a fraud, or you maybe feel like, well, I've seen somebody else do this and that. This is an experiment, and this is what it's not necessarily about just taking someone and copywriting, because even in school, remember, like they would have us like, you have to cite your source, who you are, and by nature of like having these constellations of interests and things, is going to create something specifically unique for you, and it might resemble and look like somebody else's stuff. I have this book sitting out to remind myself that when I am in creation mode, to experiment and just go and do the thing. Time that I see something that I like, I'm able to articulate specifically what I like. I don't like everything. There's a specific nuanced thing that I can say. I can say two or three things that I love about specifically what I want to integrate from Skylar's work as a content creator. I can specifically say that I think that is what's missing. It's not just arbitrarily doing things for the sake of doing things because you're like, oh, I'm gonna do that. There's no thought. You don't know why you are doing that. Taking the time to consider why you like something, that's how you develop taste. And through taste is when you start getting and being able to develop your own like unique what's the word I'm looking for? Moniker. And that's what that's about. So the music I've been listening to recently, Art of Loving by Olivia Dean, track after track after track after track. This is, to surmise this album, this is a love letter to yourself. I mean, it's called The Art of Loving. And she takes you through Lady, a couple of minutes, my heart, my heart. And she takes you through just the cycle of like external love, romantic love, and then to self-love. And you are in I think in a becoming era of your life, or feeling like you're moving to the next step or chapter of your life, I would give this a listen to. This Love Celeste. She gives me a very much Josephine Baker-esque vibe, but she's performing. And this is like old Hollywood when they were giving you imagination and performance. And her vision of being bold and experimenting is, she found her when she did a tribute for Nina Simone. Her voice is angelic. And so I found myself this year randomly watching We're Your Dream Girls. Won't make you happy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, I was watching Dreamgirls. And why did I watch Dreamgirls? I don't know. I think maybe this is a nostalgia thing. This is like a holiday movie that my family watched. But I watched this, and Jennifer Hudson. Jennifer Hudson was incredible in this movie. Again, this is, I think, I like my through line is like, again, this private public persona, this performative persona. I think all these kind of have a through line with that. The advantage that people would take, and the level of almost alienation that you have to give yourself or to permit to rise to the top, and like alienating people you love, alienating your own values and certain ideas and things of like that was great. And also it's just, it's really good. Dreamgirls is really, really good. Jennifer Hudson blew it out the water. Bell Hook writes a essay about women artists in the creative process, the intention of the essay, but this just reminded me the importance of sensual intelligence. And I define sensual intelligence as connecting to your senses in a way that is like unconsciously informing taste and opinion and point of view, but also actually being able to then create and replicate these environments to then inform any type of like work you do. And but she talks about being a woman of leisure. And in this day and age, being a woman of leisure, and I know leisure, people are like, leisure is like money, money, money. But she's not talking about this. She's talking about, in essence, of like how she moves through the world, what she finds beautiful, and then emerging. That's what she's immersing herself, immersing. She's immersing herself into this world. And she talks about like needing uninterrupted time with her thoughts and her dreams, and she needs to be in cashmere. And I was like, man, pleasure is so also needed in the aspect of labor and work. And she goes in later and she talks about labor and work. But this essay is essentially about the importance of women artists, the importance of women artists needing to not only critique each other in a way that is beneficial for the movement as a whole, for women to be able to have access to art, but most importantly, have time for art, have time for creation. Because with motherhood and other expectations built on upon women, having the time to create is super essential for us. Concept of time and who gets access to it, but also who gets to critique us on it. And also another important note is she also talks about how as women artists, people really focus a lot on our personal lives. They focus a lot on like the thing that is juicy about Frida is her life and how she lived. And whereas men actually kind of have the opposite effect, whereas their personal life can be really crazy and shitty, but as long as their work is exceptional, people are like, well, their work. It's like they focus on the work. And even if women make exceptional work, we're still so focused on her personal livelihood. Saul Leecher is my favorite photographer. He does work around like the interiority of people. He's able to find a way to showcase what's internally going on with an individual photographer. And also he plays a lot with mirrors and like multiple layers of angles of pictures, and it just, the subject matter then becomes more texturized and nuanced in his work. I'm gonna see some of his popular images. He used to work for Vogue. God, his work, every time I see something of Saul's, I'm moved. He also has an amazing documentary towards the end of his life that he did, and he had things that he didn't even get printed, and I think they're still printing till after his death. McMillian Cotton, Tracy McMillian Cotton, she Cotton, somebody in a league of their own, another one in a league of her own. She's able to she covers anything, any type of anthropological, societal, cultural things. She's able to put it in a way that's engaging. Like she makes you want to engage into the discussion and the discourse. And in one specific, when I discovered her, it was with Money with Katie, and it was this one, a masterclass on status, power, and the economy. Please go listen. Around, hey, what is it? what is it like? How do you like? Where do you see yourself on this axis, or can you explain that on your intersectionality? And she was like, I don't see intersectionality as like a line. She was like, it's a spiral that it's all layered on one another, and depending on your relationship to, it's like you in the center, but everything around you, there's a different type of relationship. And this is this conversation made me think a lot about being a Black woman here in Paris, and how there's a distinct difference through how I feel like I definitely move the same, but awareness of my perspective in the US with American first in the context of the rest of the world, which means there's a status and power that I have, sheer just by one, than just the American I do what I want personality. My power and status is significantly different. And there's definitely been people who've talked about this before. Kiana Tenise, I think she's an American, been living in Paris for years. And she talked about like going into a store and being stopped and this and that. And rarely does that happen to me. And when it does happen to me, because she taught said this trick, like if I speak English, immediately like game changes. I'm so sorry. Like I apologize. And so the power dynamic of women applying effort, and like what's going on with all the surgeries and women looking kind of basically crazy and like kind of like over performing and doing their beauty, because it is a woman perceived trying to be attractive is much more um, appealing to men than a woman who doesn't try at all and just is okay with her beauty. And so, yeah, there definitely was an interesting. And I actually spoke with a friend about this, a French friend, and she was like, it's the opposite. Like, you have to seem as minimal and effortless as possible here in France, because that is the standard, in which nothing is effortless, right? Like in the U.S., we're seen trying. In France, you're not supposed to be seen trying, which is a total different status and power. It's an Essie pink nail polish. Let me see if I can find it. It is having a moniker. I'm starting to find myself wanting my own, like, I wear this. This is my thing. It's this one. Oh, get out of here. Oh, ballet slipper. This is my nail polish. I love this nail polish. It is so subtle, but it gives a little like, it's almost actually it's the color of my grandmother's ring on my finger. It's gorgeous. This is like what I wear every week now. And I feel good. I feel like trying to find your moniker and your like essential style is gives you so much confidence and just figure. I don't know. I love it. My other last obsession is heirlooms. And these are like my grandmother's rings that she gave me that my grandfather actually had bought for her. And this green pendant. I have been wearing, like, I essentially say I'm the eldest daughter who likes old things. Like, that's how I would define myself. Um, and things that have like memories and associated with them. And so my obsession is like my grandmother's heirlooms and like styling that and incorporating that into my style. I did a interview recently with a local artist here in Paris, centered around like around a lot of familial work, Maria. And she's created one. You see, like she uses red in her paintings. I did an interview with her, and so it's like dreamscape but visceral. The red is so like it makes you. It's like getting under the skin, and so she's definitely an artist to watch here in Paris. Just a new ritual that I've been doing, and we'll end on a very light note. Is I have been making an affogato on Sundays, which is like the Italian, like you have a coffee, the Italians do, and then you put a scoop of ice cream. So it's like a coffee ice cream. You're like taking the mundane and making it feel extraordinary, making it feel delightful, making it doing. Not every Sunday, but I do try at least once a month on a Sunday to create because I do think with moderation, creating a special thing in a container makes it much more enriching. So, yeah, that's my index. If you have any questions on any of the resources, let me know. If you have anything that's relevant or like in the same theme or ideas, please share them because I love to like keep building on like knowledge. Until next time, bisous.